Okay, it's talking about degree. It says if the degree is even. And then it's got this negative and this positive business. And this is like that A, that leading coefficient business, okay? Degree being even, that would be, well, like x squared, x to the 4th, x to the 6th, da 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 da. Okay? That's what you're talking about.
Okay.
All right? So if it's negative, when it says up here as x approaches this negative infinity, and then it's got x approaches positive infinity. Does that kind of make sense to you? If you're looking at a graph with the x and the y, what they're talking about is this: you're looking at this graph from left to right. As x is going towards negative infinity, what is the y doing? That's what we want to know. Okay? So for an even degree function, and for those other ones, for even, the deal with even, if it starts low, it ends low. If it starts high, it ends high. Okay? So if it's got a negative coefficient, it's going to start low, right? So down here, it's going to be y approaches negative infinity. And that's an infinity, not an 8. It's a horrible looking one, but it is. And the same thing there. And you can just think of it whenever you're thinking of an even degree, go back to a quadratic. Whatever a quadratic is, whatever the even degrees are going to do.
Okay.
All right? So, and for a negative one, it's going to do this. It's going to be low and low. So if the leading coefficient is high, it means it opens up, right? Which means as it approaches, as it goes negative infinity, this is going to approach positive infinity. And as x approaches infinity, this is also going to approach positive infinity. So far, so good on that one? So whenever I'm thinking of even degreed functions, I always kind of in my mind's eye picture that y equals x squared. Okay? And go from that. Okay? So on the odds, what's that?
Nothing. Well, shouldn't there be a negative in front of that?
There should be right here.
Oh, okay.
Yes, thank you. No, spit it out. Just because you're on tape for the world to see doesn't mean, you know. Hey, okay, so for odds, it would be like x cubed, x to the 5th, those kinds of things, okay? So we're doing the same thing here, and we've got negative and positives. And this is just talking about your leading coefficient. So let's just look at a regular one. Positive ones basically did this. Well, I'll tell you what. Whenever I'm doing odds, I like to think of just a line. Okay? That would be positive slope, right? And this would be negative slope. Well, that's odd or even, so that's easy to figure out. So, if I have a negative coefficient, which would be like a negative sloped line here, right? As x approaches negative infinity, what does y approach? As x goes back this way, what does y approach?
Positive infinity.
Correct. As x goes towards positive infinity, what's y approaching?
Negative infinity.
Correct. All right, and let's look at it this way. Let's say we have our positive slope line, okay? As x approaches negative infinity, where is y going?
Negative infinity.
And as x is approaching on this top one, as x is approaching positive infinity, what's y doing?
Positive infinity.
Perfect. Now, that's just by reading a graph. You read a graph just like you read a book left to right. Okay, you always want to look at it left to right. But then when it says approaching negative infinity, sometimes you kind of have to look backwards to see what it's doing. Is that making sense? Okay, so there's your table for that.